Order the Public Works Finance and Safety Committee meeting of Tuesday, February 16, 2021. Roll call, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Here.
Bueller,
Here.
Boyer,
Present.
Pauline, Lallam, Manti, absent, Rademski,
Here.
Roby,
Here.
No. You.
Billhauer.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it. That sounded like Glenn. Roby absent. Billhauer.
Here.
Okay. Why? Absent. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 3 is approval of the consent agenda. Have a motion by Rademski
Second.
and a second by Holeen. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, I only got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need a roll call vote.
Okay. Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Boyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Billhauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 4 is public input, and this is the time reserved for anyone who would like to make a public comment to step forward and do so. Please state your name into the microphone for the record before making your comment, and if your comment is related to an agenda item, please wait until that agenda item is taken up by the council, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak? See no one, we will move on to the approval of the agenda. Have a motion by Billhauer and a second by Rademski. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and nay if you oppose. Roll call vote, please. Kristen?
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Boyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam, Rademski,
Aye.
Billhauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6 is the regular agenda, and A is approval to purchase a Toro 4500 rough mower for Cattail Crossing Golf Course through Sourcewell contract pricing at a contract price of $68,241. Have a motion by Lallam.
Second.
And a second by Holeen. And I'll ask our Park Rec and Forestry Director, Terry Kelly, to explain this.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening or afternoon, members of the council. What's before you this evening is requesting permission to purchase a rough mower, a Toro 4500 off of Sourcewell. What happened, normally this would be part of the budgetary process. This machine went out very late fall, completely lost its motor. It's a model that is discontinued, but it is, I put in the information, it's an 05, it's actually an 03, so it served us well, but it looks like it needs a replacement. The funding, since it's unbudgeted, I've met with Kristen. The funding for this would come $50,000 from the golf course restricted fund, and the balance of $18,241 would come from the general park and rec unrestricted fund to purchase this. So no general fund requirement. This would be all funded within the Park and Rec Department, but it is essential for our operation to have a minimum of 3 rough mowers. So I'll answer questions and look for your approval.
All right, thank you. Questions, Council? Councilman Albertson first. Councilman Albertson?
I couldn't get my mute off here. Terry, was it thank you, Mayor. Was it Jacobson? Is that the brand that we had so much trouble with, and that when it came to repair that we couldn't, that was a few years ago now, but there was one brand, and I don't think it was Toro, but I'm just wanting to make sure that it wasn't that it was a Jacobson and not Toro that we had all that trouble with.
Yeah, it was a Jacobson. that we had a lot of issues getting repaired, and that was a couple years back. We did get a Kubota out there as well, and the Tier 4 and the rear discharge or the side discharge wasn't working well with the golf course. That mower since was transferred down to Parks and is actually now within the fire department Station 2. But Toro, we've had excellent luck. Example, this mower as an 03 model, and it's had multiple repairs, but it services well for the last 17 seasons. So definitely encourage the Toro through Sourcewell. We've had great luck with that.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Councilman Vilhauer?
Terry, I'm asking totally out of ignorance on this. We're also going to be looking at approving a Fairway mower on the agenda. Those are two totally different styles or types of mowers. I mean, they're not interchangeable. I guess the bottom line is I'm asking is, are both types needed?
Absolutely. Great question. The rough mowers are actually blade style. No different than you'd have at your home. This is a 5-deck unit that has independent blades for rough. It's not a essential cut or a pristine cut as you'd see within the Fairway and the greens mowers. So what you'll see is 5 decks on this. They got rotary blades. Where you'll see the Fairway mower and the greens mowers, those are actually rotary. Those have reels. Because of the depth that we cut, it's definitely a precision cut. Greens we're at about, I want to say right around that 3/8 of an inch, and Fairway we run about anywhere from a 3/4 to an 1.25 inch cut. So we do a real tight mower, so they are truly two complete separate types of mowers.
Okay, thanks, TK.
You bet.
Anyone else? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is approval of the professional services agreement for design services associated with the Watertown Regional Landfill, Cell 7, project number 2112, with Houston Engineering, Inc., in the amount of $55,400, authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents. Have a motion by Holeen and a second by Lallam. And I'll ask the Public Works Director, City Engineer Heath Von Eye, to tell us about this, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And good afternoon to the Public Works Committee and thanks for listening to all the items we have to go through tonight. We have a handful again this evening, starting off with the Houston Engineering contract that we're proposing. I've gone through this with the landfill, the solid waste superintendent, Mike Berger, who's online with us tonight. We also have a representative from HEI, Dennis McAlpine, that's also online, I believe, with us. But generally speaking, what this contract is for professional services related to the design of a new landfill cell. It's to be known as landfill cell number 7 at the Watertown Regional Landfill. There are also a couple of subsidiary items that are included in this design fee, which help accomplish a couple tasks out at the landfill in as a whole, generally speaking as well. They include some perimeter stormwater improvements adjacent with the adjacent cells 1 and 2, and also a rehabilitation on some of the asphalt surfacing area where a lot of the compost is handled and mixed and hauled in and out throughout the season. But the brunt of the fee is associated with the design of landfill cell number 7. And Mike Berger, like I mentioned, is online, and along with a consultant. This is anticipated to take place construction in 2022, so we'd be gearing up for that construction planning. We stand by for any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Councilman Albertson?
Sorry, didn't put my hand down.
Oh, okay. Any questions, council? No questions. Well, look for action then. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thanks for tuning in, Dennis. All right, item C is approval of change order number 1 with Gray Construction Company for the airport terminal project number 1927 for an increase of $60,693 for a new project contract amount of $10,292,693. Have a motion by Helene and a second by Lalem. And I'll ask the Public Works Director, Heath Von Eye, to tell us about this, please.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again, Mayor. I'll start off. This came as a recommendation through our consultant, Mead and Hunt, and Co-op Architecture. Mead and Hunt Representative Mitch Walker is here with us in the room this evening to help answer any questions. And, of course, a sub-consultant underneath him is Co-op Architecture, who's doing a lot of the on-site inspection of the construction progress at the new airport terminal. So the action before for recommendation from the Public Works Committee tonight is related to a change order that addresses a handful of items out at the airport terminal construction as it's progressed. If you recall, we did just recently take action to authorize the city engineer to sign off on some of the more nominal change orders to keep the progress moving forward. What we have before the council and the Public Works Committee tonight is one of those that's cumulative effect to where we felt it was appropriate, the consultants felt it was appropriate to get it approved by the council and then move it on for formal FAA approvals after that. The brunt of the, I'll share my screen here quick, as part of the write-up in the council packet, you will see in those attachments this document here that kind of outlines the specifics for the change order. One of them is a little over $13,000 that's related to cold weather construction work, specifically for cold weather concrete placement. There was some ground heating and thawing that had to occur in order to do some of the foundation work that was required in the time of the year that the contractor got started. So really, it was an unavoidable expense as far as the climate and the winter and freezing conditions that were incurred at this point in the progress of the work. Some other subsidiary items that this relates to. One of the larger ones is a little over $28,000 for temporary security fencing. The perimeter or location of the exact fencing was adjusted. And included the area of the apron that was an add-on, if you recall. We had the building terminal project itself, and then the bids came in so well for the terminal project that we added on a large portion of the terminal apron, which then caused us to have to expand our security fencing boundaries. So this is a change order that addresses those modified boundaries to accommodate that additional work that we added to the project through a separate bid. There were some small sanitary sewer modifications that ended up being a credit to the tune of a little over $1,000. And we have a 8-inch gate valve and some lintel details here as well that I'm sure Mitch or Todd could help talk through if we have questions on those. The brunt of the change order is to the tune of $60,693, and again, this will go through formal FAA review and approval to determine the exact percentages of funding eligibility as far as their cost share is concerned. I will note, and Mitch could maybe elaborate more on this, that the 13.5 for cold weather work is probably the one of largest discussion with the FAA on whether that'll be eligible or not. But I'd invite Mitch to come on forward and he can speak to any other details that we might want to know about.
Thank you, Heath. With that one, the real question is, typically the FAA does not contribute to winter conditions increases. The one thing that we have going in our favor is really the end of the fiscal year ended, federal fiscal year ended end of September, and we typically coincide our bid holds to coincide with the end of the fiscal year because all grants need to be completed by that time. We ran into a situation with the FAA where that grant period ended up extending out actually into November. So we had a bid hold that that held through October, or into October, about the middle part of October, which we thought would have been absolutely fine and would have worked well with it. When the FAA grant just was held up in Bismarck, we that hold period for bidders to hold pricing sort of let, and then they would have added these winter conditions allowances to their number if they known that they would have that the contracting would have extended into November. So had the FAA gotten their grant out, which they do typically every year, by the end of September we would have been just fine. So we've been working with with Gray Construction to really understand why and what is going into this, but we feel the number is pretty well accurate.
Probably could have been worse, I'm guessing. We did have good conditions.
Yeah.
If they'd had to do the whole thing undercover.
Yep, absolutely. They got that work all done and completed, before this particular cold snap has hit us. So,
right.
It's been good.
I would note too, talking with Mitch about this earlier, we should, I'll emphasize the word should, we should see the most of any cold weather additional costs under this change order right here. There isn't any more foundational work to do or things like that that would cause additional ground heating or additional expense like that, if I'm correct, right, Mitch?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, Council? Councilman Billhauer?
Just a couple of questions. You said the amount that's grant eligible is not for sure, but we got a figure of $8,276.11 in our packet. Any reason to believe that will not be in the ballpark of what our share will be?
That should be in the ballpark. That's what we're requesting. So what we do is we put what we feel is reasonable in front of the FAA, and they have this number with the full packet, and they understand our justification for requesting those funds, including the winter construction allowances, and then they'll rule on them. And so we're just awaiting that final approval and review from the FAA. We will probably try to push to even have a conference call with the FAA very soon, so we can understand the ramifications overall.
Okay, thanks, Mitch. Just in general, how is the construction going out there?
It is going. It went very well for the first couple of months. We had a holdup on steel right now, and steel is finally going to be out there tomorrow. So we'll be starting up, sort of getting back to work, and you'll see a lot of coming out of the ground, a lot of vertical work. So it's going well thus far, and we're really looking forward to seeing the steel up and getting roughed in. So
thanks, Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Lean,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Redempsey,
Aye.
Billhauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D is approval of the selection of Mead and Hunt for design and construction services associated with the snow removal equipment storage building at the airport terminal, project number 1927, authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
I move approval.
Motion by Holene. Second by Lallam. And Heath, want to tell us about that, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This, of course, is related to the new airport terminal project, in a sense of the overall project and the necessary changes that have to occur out there on the airport property. One of those pieces of the puzzle is the addressing the snow removal equipment storage building at the airport. We have a current facility that is used in that capacity, and that building needs to physically be relocated on somewhere else on the airport property. and we also need to construct a new airport SRE building. That's what this contract does. This piece of the puzzle, like most of these with these FAA-related projects, we're kind of led by the FAA as far as their direction as to when design contract needs to be in place, and when the design needs to be completed by, and when we need to have a bid submitted to them by. So that's what we've been working from, is some recent deadlines that they've given Todd Syrie, the airport manager. And the most recent information we've got from them is that they would like to see this building designed and bid by early May. Now, they may move that deadline on us a little bit and give us a little more time, but as of right now, that's what we're targeting. So to meet those timelines, we did send out a request for qualifications, and we received two separate statements of qualifications from two separate consultants. And after review of those, staff is recommending to proceed working with Mead and Hunt to design the snow removal equipment building for the city to meet our airport needs. And subsequent to this action, if the council were to approve their statement of qualifications and move forward with them as a consultant, you'll notice there's not a contract on this agenda here tonight for this item. Reason being is that they have to submit an independent fee evaluation. It's an IFE that's reviewed by a third-party design consultant to confirm that their fees that they're charging are in line with the industry standards, so to speak. So after that IFE is performed, we would bring a contract forward with an actual price on it for formal council approval at that point in time. With all that being said, it is just simply another piece of the puzzle for the overall terminal project. And again, Mitch is here in the audience with us, and then Todd is also available online, and we'll stand by for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions, council? Councilman Villar?
Maybe you answered it, Heath, but I guess I'll ask it anyway. So this is dictated to us that we do need a new building, is that correct? Or is there a good practical reason why we're needing a new building?
Yeah, well, for starters, I guess to describe the situation is that the current building has to be relocated because of the physical location of it is in conflict with the new airport terminal.
Okay.
And the space needs for the terminal and the apron and such. So with that existing location going away, this has been part of the long-range plan for the airport, building a new SRE facility in conjunction with the terminal. So we do plan to reutilize the existing structure, just relocate it, but also get an entirely new facility built through the FAA funding that we've been anticipating applying for.
Okay, thanks, Heath.
Other questions? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Billhauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item E is approval of the professional services agreement for miscellaneous engineering services associated with the annual airport engineering duties with Helms and Associates in the amount of $15,000, authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents. Motion by Lallam and a second by Holeen. Heath, tell us about this, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in relation to annual engineering duties and anything that the airport operations need to have a licensed engineer perform for them. It's a requirement by the FAA that we have a contract with a licensed engineer for services like this throughout the year. And Helms and Associates has traditionally been our go-to for our airport engineering needs. That's what Todd Syrie's brought forward here as the airport manager, and I would concur with making a recommendation here to the council to approve another contract with them in an amount of up to $15,000 for their annual services. I see we do have Mike Schmidt on the line from Helms and Associates, and we'd stand by for any questions on this item.
All right, thank you. Councilman Lallam?
Heath, is this very similar to what we've done the last couple of years?
It is, yes,
It's kind of a
very much.
standing contract of sorts?
Yes, I don't know if Todd or Mike, could you speak to the amount? I assume the amount is, dollar amount's even probably identical the last couple of years. Is that correct, Todd?
Yes, it ranges between $5,000 and $15,000, not to exceed $15,000. This is a standard contract that we've done as long as I've been here. We do have a selection process every 5 years through the FAA that we select this engineer that we have contracts with yearly. So I believe it's 2023 is our next 5-year cycle where we'll go out for RFQ for engineering services for these contracts.
Thank you.
All right. Councilman Vilhauer?
And we pay 100% of this, is that correct?
I believe it is. Todd, could you confirm that?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is for oddities at the airport that we would need throughout the year that we don't have in contract.
Sure, thanks.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Item F is approval of the reimbursable agreement for services associated with relocating communications equipment for the airport terminal project, project number 1927, with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in the amount of $185,034, authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents. Have a motion by Lallam and a second by Holeen. And Heath, go ahead and explain this one for us, please.
Absolutely. This one, again, has to do with the new airport terminal project. There are a number of communication components out there at the airport that are housed for obvious reasons with the air traffic communications that are required at any given airport, and particularly ours here. That equipment that's housed in the current terminal will obviously have to be relocated, and that's what this agreement is specifically related to. It's the city paying the FAA for those relocation costs. They call this a reimbursable agreement, and as of right now, it appears as though the full $185,000 will be an expense of the cities to bear. There was some talk preliminarily about whether there be some eligibility of that expense being covered by the federal funding of the airport terminal project. After review, that's come back and not in our favor to say that no, this is not an eligible expense. But I do believe there are some ongoing discussions yet that have to occur and some differing opinions from the regional to the higher up levels within the FAA on whether this will be eligible or not. So as it sits right now, Todd and I are planning on this expense, the full $185,000, to come from city's funding and be part of what we've earmarked for the city's funding expenses for the project. And we don't have an issue with this amount being counted against those dollars. We've earmarked roughly $5 million. We think this 185 will fit into that $5 million just fine at this point in time. And so if we get some cost share from the federal level later on, all the better for us. But if not, we're covered under our budget as well. So with that being said, again, Todd's online, and we'd be glad to help answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Councilman Lallam?
We don't really have a choice on this one, though, do we? I mean, we have to move it over, so whether we like it or not, that's an expense we're going to have.
Correct, absolutely.
Councilman Hoyer?
Heath, do we have a lot of other scenarios where we might expect to see some more costs like this kind of pop up? I know that we planned for it, but just so you can kind of have a little heads up.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Councilman Hoyer. With the SRE building being on the agenda tonight, now with this item, rest assured, I think staff and our consultant have a pretty good handle on these numbers and are still confident in that cash, out-of-pocket cash that we're planning to spend on the city's end. I'm not thinking of any other larger items. And Todd, you could chime in on this as well. that we haven't already accounted for, but might be lingering that we'll be bringing forward. We could share that information, perhaps even yet tonight if there's a couple of those large ticket items that are pending out there yet, Todd.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Heath. So when we went through the design process of the terminal, this was all incorporated into the design. I know it's been quite a few months since we've all seen the presentations by Mitch with Mead Hunt. These are all of the contracts that now are coming forward through the design process, and specifically the FAA orders us to do this piece by piece. And I know it's kind of a piecemeal situation going through this terminal project, but we will see a few more of these, and I believe Mitch Walker can kind of walk us through as we see these come up. Mitch, can you think of any big ticket items that are going to come up in the near future? I know we have the IFE, and we also have the testing phases that will have to come in the near future here. I know we have some seating costs that we're thinking of that we'll probably have to pay up front, and then the glass issue. Maybe you can touch on a few of those if you would, please, Mitch.
Sure, yeah. We don't anticipate significant, like something like this, a significant cost. But again, we knew that this cost was coming. We knew that we had to relocate that tech ops equipment. And we understood that there was a chance, we were hopeful that we would get some reimbursable dollars from it, but it was not a guarantee. So it was planned for in it. One thing Todd is noting is like special inspections for the SRE. Those are typically funded, by the city as well. So that work is already sort of under contract for the terminal, but for the SRE, that may be an additional contract in the future for a testing services. The other side, the glass, I think if you're talking about that, Todd, meaning the credit for the change order.
Yeah, the credit for the change order, and then what we might see in the future with the payment plan that is currently on the table with the vendor, meaning to pay the upfront 66% cost.
Certainly. So one thing that we note, I guess outright too, with the change order coming, is that we're anticipating, and we've moved to approve about a $45,000 credit to the project too, with swapping out a finish on the terminal glass, which is nice to see. So we probably won't be back here with expenditures on change orders. And then pertaining to that exact same that glass, I guess, channel glass, what Todd is mentioning is the potential. This particular manufacturer requires and requests about 33% upfront to complete their design and shop drawings. That's something that we tend to see on occasion in building projects and some within our industry, in the airport industry. That money is already set within the bid. It's just basically about when it actually gets paid out. So some, like for instance, furniture, a lot of airport furniture requires 50% upfront to complete the manufacture, and then 50% upon delivery. Elevators do the same thing. So that is, typically you'd have to pay an upfront cost for the elevator, and then just to start the manufacturing process for it, and then pay on delivery. So we're running into that same situation with the glass, or with this channel glass. But it wouldn't be an added expense to the city. It would just be, when that pay, or when it would be included in the pay app to the city. So that's all. We're just maneuvering that along with the FAA and with the manufacturer. We're going to set up a call with them later on this week.
So to your point, Councilman Hoyer, I think that the largest item that was out there yet was the SRE building. And of course, with the action item tonight for the design services, we'll have the subsequent cost for those services. We'll bring that contract forward. And then, of course, subsequent to that, we'll have the actual bid and the bid award for the construction of that facility and the costs associated with that. So that's probably the biggest ticket item that's pending there, out there yet in relation to the whole terminal project.
Is that in the budget?
Correct. All that was accounted for in the budget.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you, Heath. Sounds like you guys have a real good handle on it. It's just releasing funds almost sort of situation.
Yes, and it is unique because it's one step at a time as we get that guidance from the FAA.
Councilman Vilhauer?
Just to piggyback on Michael's question, on this equipment, that needs to be housed in a structure of some sort, correct?
The snow removal equipment?
No,
structure?
the communications or the technical equipment that we just approved the 185,000 for.
Yes, the tech ops equipment.
Right.
Yes, that's something that we're going through. Well, a part of this reimbursable agreement as well is to actually locate the final landing spot for all of that equipment. But then it does require some parameters. In some instances it needs clearance surrounding it, either above it or around it, as well as then be housed in a tempered facility as well.
So I guess that's where I'm going with this. I mean, how elaborate or how expensive of a building will that be then to house this equipment?
That's something that we're hopeful that we can actually house this in some of the existing airport on existing airport property. We're hopeful to not have to try to build a new vault for some of that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? All
Mayor,
right.
Sorry, that sparked a question in my mind, Mitch, if I can ask you one. This 185,000, does that or does that not include the actual housing of that equipment, or is it just the physical relocation costs that the FAA is projecting?
Yeah, I'd actually, Mike, if you're on that one, could you field that as well? Mike Schmidt?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
All right. So this is a preliminary, this is going to take us through not necessarily construction of a potential new building site. So to answer some of the questions, we're not talking about building a 50 by 50 structure. We're talking more like a 20 by 20, almost a small garage type structure. They have to have certain clearances in between their racks of equipment, things like that. So if you look through the scope, they're basically gonna provide the support for the design. So we have DGR engineering under us to assist with all of the different items that the FAA has currently located within the existing terminal building. So we're going to have boots on the ground, provide documentation of line of sight, like Mitch was talking. And really the hope is to try to keep this as inexpensive for everybody involved. I think we've got very good local buy-in from the tech ops folks that actually work on that equipment on the airport that come up here on. They're more than supportive. However, everything has to funnel up the channels through the FAA, up through their engineering and technical support groups. So our first step is essentially locating a good spot on the field. If we have to build something new, to put it, put an X on the map, here's where we'd like to put it. It makes the most sense to get the utilities to it. It's got the line of sight, it's got the clearances. But as Mitch alluded to, or if it was Heath, there are existing facilities for the localizer, the glide slope, the Mulser system. If we can co-locate some of that equipment within those areas, that's going to be the most cost effective for everybody. So hopefully I didn't confuse anybody.
All right, thanks, Mike. Anyone else? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Oline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Radomski,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Item G is authorization for the mayor to sign the 2020 annual municipal separate storm sewer systems, MS4, report for the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, DENR. Motion by Vilhauer. And a second by Lallam. And Heath, I'll let you introduce this, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. As part of the city's involvement as a MS4, a municipal separate storm sewer system municipality, we are required to follow certain guidelines and regulations that are trickled down from the EPA through the South Dakota DENR regarding the Clean Water Act, the Federal Clean Water Act. One of those includes the municipality setting up a series of targeted goals or best management practices, as they're known as, that help the community to provide education and outreach to the community about stormwater runoff and the importance of certain parameters of the Clean Water Act and how they relate to construction activities and land disturbing activities in general. So one of the rules of the program is also to provide an annual report. So that's what this is. That's supposed to be approved by the governing body. And Marcy Luna, our Engineer 1, has done the brunt of the work on this annual report for us this year, as she did last year. And I would hand it off to her to touch on just a few of the highlights of this year's report, which I believe is pretty rudimentary, really, in relation to prior year reports, but important enough. We still need to touch on the highlights and explain any deviations of the plan or shortfalls in our BMPs and express those to the council. So, Marcy, if I could hand it off to you.
Thanks, Heath. So for the MS4 this year, we did meet all of our goals, and I would note COVID did affect just our public involvement and participation. We did try to get ourselves involved in as many items as possible, some of which were canceled maybe just before they were supposed to happen in the March timeline, but we did meet all of our goals. Great news from the solid waste department. They are actually above the numbers from last year on our collected waste, waste green containers, and then also our recyclables. We did not have any things actually looked at last year by the DENR. We didn't have any violations. We didn't have anything that they were questioning, as I believe we didn't have anything either in 2019. The main highlights are public outreach. We did the home show last year. We had great responses at that. We also did quite a few presentations with the Boy Scouts and did our utility bill inserts as usual. Heath, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Marcy. The part I have shared on the screen right now kind of relates to one of the more prevalent in the public kind of situations. It deals with our construction sites and helping control the runoff from those. And as you can see on here, the measures that staff go out and inspect and look at on construction sites throughout the year, they are really driven a lot by these MS4 requirements. It's not necessarily a local rule that we dreamt up some time ago just to make sure that things are kept tidy, but that is an inherent benefit to this program. It does help sediment from reaching our storm sewer systems and our creeks and surface channels that convey stormwater. It helps keep some of that muck and runoff erosion from entering our streets and curb and gutter as well. So when the engineering staff are out and about and are looking and inspecting on things, and we see some of the best management practices, the erosion and sediment control measures that are in place that aren't quite up to snuff, we call that to the contractor's attention and make sure that they address them accordingly to help meet and accomplish these goals, but also, again, to help protect our infrastructure from that sediment from accumulating in our systems. I just wanted to point that part out too, because that's one that's fairly prevalent in the public, in the contractor's realm.
All right, thank you. Any questions, council? Or comments? Not seeing any, so I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion, or roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Slalom,
Aye.
Rademski, Billhauer,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item H is discussion regarding the use of smoke shacks in Watertown. And I will ask the city attorney, Matt Roby, to tell us about this, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I guess I'll just tee it up a little bit, and then I'd invite the Chief of Police, Lee McPeak, to kind of chime in. The reason this is on the agenda is perhaps most of you have received communications in the last few weeks from establishment owners here in town who are complaining of receiving a citation for violation of the state law that prohibits smoking inside enclosed areas and in public spaces. And so we wanted to address it with the council and just kind of open it up for questions and perhaps suggestions about how we move forward. I guess I'll just state at the outset, the state law, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of additional nuance there as to what is considered enclosed or not enclosed. In the past, about 10 years ago, right after the law was passed, there was some discussion amongst city staff with some communication to the Attorney General and the state's attorney about proposing an ordinance kind of describing what would qualify as enclosed versus not enclosed, and it doesn't appear to have gone anywhere. That's not on the books as we sit here today, but anyway, that would be an option for the city to explore if we wanted to kind of further define what an enclosed space was. But as it sits today, there has been, I believe, some citations issued to establishments here in town that are, kind of maintaining these rooms where folks can smoke, and I believe some of them even have video lottery machines in them and that sort of thing. So I guess I would let the police chief maybe chime in a little bit to kind of give his thoughts, and then open it up for any questions or thoughts from the council.
All right, thank you, Matt. We have the Assistant Chief, Tim Toomey, here. So, Tim, what can you tell us about this?
Hi, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for taking your time to discuss this situation. This isn't a new thing. It's been going on for 10 years. The police department stance has always been the same. There's not any shacks out there, smoking shacks, that are in compliance. Just give you kind of an idea how this comes about is about every year we get a complaint from a business owner pointing their fingers at another business owner. So we go in, do a compliance check, and we find a violation, and then that business owner will point to another business owner. So for fair and consistency, we do go and visit all of them. In February of this year, we did receive a complaint, we did a compliance check, we did find a violation. In subsequent to that, we did 40 visits at 22 different establishments, and only 2 of the establishments were in violation. So the vast majority of the people comply with the law. I did talk to the state's attorney myself this year again, and she has a pretty strong stance on what a enclosed building is, and she says you can't have a fourth wall, so it has to be 75%, no more than 75% enclosed. And enclosed is exclusive of doorways, so a window with a screen is still enclosed. That's the state's attorney's stance on it. So we're not out looking for these violations by any means, but it is a state law, and it is our duty to enforce them when we get a complaint, and that's what we do. So be happy to answer any questions.
All right, Council, any questions? Councilman Hoyer?
I mean, we've been seeing a chainmail bumping back and forth, and of course, many of us just hear about this as citizens in Watertown. I guess for me, the thing that I'm kind of wondering is, and I'm sure you guys have, but have you proposed to each of these businesses when they're in violation what they would have to do to get well, essentially? What are their options to make it compliant?
Yes, that's a great question. I went around, and I do have pictures in 2015 and took pictures of each establishment's what they thought was a smoking shack and explained what they would need to do. there's a lot of excuses out there, or they've talked to city officials and they said it was okay, and it's just that there's a lot of twisting around. I do have the laws, if you can, it's pretty clear, but if you can pop that up. So those are the two laws, and they're pretty clear on what an enclosed area is. It's any space between a floor and a ceiling that is enclosed, exclusive of doorways on all sides by permanent or temporary walls or windows. So there is one establishment thought he could get by just cutting vents along the top of the wall. That's still enclosed. So some think that having an exhaust fan in there, makes them compliant, and it doesn't. So it is a petty offense. It's a $25 fine, according to state statute. If the city council decided they wanted an ordinance, I believe, Matt, they could be more restrictive. You just can't be less restrictive.
Councilman Hoyer?
I guess follow-up question to that. I know that within the stuff that was sent to us, there was also 34-46-18. Basically, what's used for cigar lounges, stuff like that, that if they sold, I think it says 10% or more of its annual gross income came from cigars, as long as they had like a humidor, they could essentially, kind of like what Sioux Falls has in some of their smoke shops and stuff.
Correct.
Is that like...
We don't have any.
Right, we don't right now. But if they chose to go that route, would that be an option for them as well?
Yes.
Okay.
What is that?
So basically, like if you go into a lounge that sells cigars primarily, you'll see this a lot in Deadwood. You see it in Sioux Falls, where they're selling multiple tobacco products. You have a room that's a humidor room, so where you would store cigars, you pick out whatever you want, and then you can come out and they have a service bar as well. So if somebody wanted like a whiskey to go with their cigar or something. Downtown Rapid has a few of them. You can smoke inside while you do that. Cigar bar, yep. I don't know if maybe on our end we need to create a visual for businesses to understand what the law is here. It's hard because we are very complaint-based as a community, but if you're not in compliance, you're not in compliance.
It's a difficult situation for the police to be in. I mean, we're not going around being the smoking police, right?
Right.
And I understand there's a business implication to it. So we want what's fair and consistent for everybody.
Right. I guess to me, it doesn't seem like it's asking too much for you to have, if you're doing the 3/4 enclosed, 3 walls, and then just heating posts and stuff outside for the folks that would like to use that. But I know it does make an uphill battle for you guys having to go around with these.
I think it's Sassy's that has the removable wall, so that would be considered legal as long as it's open during that time of operation.
Councilman Bueller?
Thank you, Mayor. Tim, a couple things. I recall we dealt with this, it's been a few years back, right after they put this into to effect. But did they change the requirements since that time? Because as I recall, it was very, very ambiguous as to how much open space. So that you had that was required for a smoke shack or a place where you could smoke. Has that changed since the original?
It has not. It was to us a little bit ambiguous when they said an enclosed area by reading the statute, but after conferring with the state's attorney, the attorney general, and at that time the city attorney, it made it much clearer that what an enclosed space was. So it hasn't changed. It's always been the exact same law.
And then employees and say people, they can't serve food in those areas. Is that correct? And employees are not supposed to be in and out of there?
That's right. Well, yeah, they can't actively serve. They can obviously go in and clean up. They just can't be served.
Right. And then what do we do with repeat offenders if we've got people that are doing this time and time again? Is it just $25 every time?
Yep.
How does that work?
That's exactly right. We just keep writing the $25 ticket, and the owner or the bartender, if they're knowingly allowing it to happen, they're also subject to a $25 fine.
And have we done that? Have we done that very often where we've actually fined them?
Yes, just recently we fined the bartender and a patron in an establishment.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Have there been recent cases of getting multiple of the same place?
Yes.
Getting tickets, like how far apart?
This go around in February was only one time in one establishment and one time in another establishment.
Okay.
So we
But
haven't,
you go back and check a certain
and then they're in
time later.
compliance.
And if they're in compliance, then you don't go back again unless there's a complaint.
Yep, and 100% of the time, they fully understand, and, you know, they're just trying to run a business and want some clarity on it as well, but I think it's clear.
I know the customers probably request being able to smoke, and they want to provide for their customers, so it's a dilemma.
Yeah, that's the dilemma, is some business owners feel that they're losing business because they're obeying the law, and when others aren't.
Are there businesses in town that have never been fined?
Yes, absolutely.
Most of them?
Yep.
Okay. Councilman Lallam?
Tim, did you say that there's some that have video lottery in their smoking room?
Absolutely, yep.
And that's not allowed either, correct?
The lottery has ruled that you can have machines in there as long as you want to wheel them in and out, but they have to be connected to a network and things like that, so it would be difficult to have a legal smoking shack that has a lottery machine in it. But yes, the two places that are in violation the most have several machines inside.
And are they portable machines?
No, they're plugged in, they're permanent.
So they can, basically, they have to have an open door or a wall.
Yep.
So they gotta haul those in and out every night?
Right,
Or they should?
if they wanted to have machines out in there. I think the spirit of the law was to make people smoke outside and not expose employees to that secondary smoke.
Sure. It just doesn't make a lot of sense that, you know, you're gonna haul a machine in and out every time, and,
Right.
I mean, just, I don't know, that's kind of a strange deal if you're that committed to smoking and playing video lottery at the same time. I don't know, just odd one for me.
Councilman Albertson?
Thanks, Mayor. This is for the chief. Tim, tell me about other communities. The person that has been, that I've been visiting with about this the most has said that Watertown is the only place that enforces this, and as far as he knows, in the state. And I said, well, why don't we just check with Chief Toomey and see what he says about it?
We actually reached out, we were told that as well, and Aberdeen is always listed as one of the people who allow it, and we reached out to the chief of police there. He did send me his ordinance and also said that they do have their code enforcement officer respond to any complaints and usually get voluntary compliance. In their ordinance that they have established, they actually put it in there that shall not have not more than 75% of the aggregate wall area enclosed. For the purpose of the section, enclosed shall include areas that are enclosable by permanent or temporary doors, walls, or windows. So they're exactly the same as we are. I don't know of anybody, any city that would tell me that they're just ignoring the law when they have to respond to a complaint.
Thanks, Tim.
You know, one thing that the definition in Aberdeen provides a little more clarity. I don't know if anybody in town would want to do this. I've seen it in other places though, where they essentially they have like a honeycombed wall. So it's like so there's open space, you know, enclosed, open, enclosed, open, enclosed. And so Aberdeen's definition, and the definition we were contemplating apparently 10 years ago, just says 75% in aggregate. So if you could somehow, so essentially it would still allow for 4 walls, floor to ceiling 4 walls, as long as no more than 75%, excluding doors and windows, was enclosed. So again, it would have to be like a honeycomb type system. But it seems like it kind of defeats the purpose of the spirit of the law, like Tim had mentioned.
Yeah, it is frustrating for the business owners, and you know, I can empathize with that. So.
Councilman Billhauer?
Tim, is there anything that you're asking of us tonight other than just mostly information to us, or there's something that you would like to see us do as far as action on this?
It's more of just a discussion, because I know you guys were getting some phone calls as well, and you know, we wanted the whole story out there, just not half of the story. So if you would want to entertain an ordinance, I would be happy to help draft something like that, but I think the law is pretty clear.
So it'll be something that would have to be more stringent than what state law already provides.
It just can't be less restrictive. Yeah.
Right. Or repeat what they say. Why do that? Councilman Bueller?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Tim, just another couple questions for you. If we go in and simply violating this ordinance, is it automatic from the very first time? I mean, are they going to get a citation, or is there a warning and then we come back and if we see it again or somebody reports it again, then they get a citation?
It's typically up to the officer's discretion, but yes, we usually give a warning first to let them know that we are going to be doing these walkthroughs and ask for voluntary compliance before we start issuing citations.
And then when we've got repeat offenders, Tim, are we patrolling those areas? I mean, are we going through and inspecting those areas that we know have been repeat offenders?
Yes, to be fair and consistent, we go through every establishment. We just don't target
Okay.
target one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Lallam?
Tim, and I understand both sides on this. I had a couple of people reach out to me. I think people that are just trying to get some more clarification on it. And the people that do follow it, and, frankly, they got to go outside to smoke. They build a separate room. The problem I think what they run into is that you have some people that are following it to the T, and other ones that are, following it when it serves them best.
That's
So
correct.
I think that's what the issue is with most of the business owners. I think most people that are in this business are trying to follow it as much as possible. They don't want to lose a license or anything of that nature. So I mean, that would be the only thing I could see coming forward is, if you get dinged a few times by the same business is getting dinged every time. I mean, that might be one where we'd have to look at it maybe a little bit closer.
The people who don't have the lottery machines in there and it's mainly just a smoking shack are caught in the middle of this too, and it's frustrating for them as well. So.
Sure. Okay.
And I guess I would say that even those that have that standalone smoking shack arguably would still technically be in violation of the law.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Hoyer?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of restrictions and stuff necessarily, and this is a tough one, but I think we're kind of going down this path a little bit. If we keep hitting the same businesses with like a $25 fine, I don't know if there needs to be like an escalation to it or something. Because like, why have an ordinance that's just kind of like, no, stop it? I mean, I know we can't be less restrictive with it, but like, I don't know. The idea is that it's supposed to try and prevent it. And it's tough because it's one of those scenarios where it's like, well, if you're going to be in that room, of course you're choosing to be in that room, as opposed to, I don't know how many scenarios there are that employees are really being exposed to those rooms against their will or anything.
Right.
They could require that those people come in and get drinks and stuff. So, and I'm sure that's probably how most of them work. So I don't know. It's a weird gray area.
Councilman Bueller? Is that a leftover hand up? Councilman Bueller?
Sorry, Mayor. No, I do have another comment. There are, I've had folks that in some of these establishments that have made it clear that it's cheaper. I mean, it's better for them to pay the fine once in a while in comparison to what they feel they might lose in revenue. And who sets that fine limit? I don't recall for sure on that.
That is a state statute. So if we were
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. That's what I thought.
So we can't escalate it, probably. The law wouldn't allow for that. Is that true?
Oh no, you could.
You could?
Right, Matt?
Yeah, I believe we would have that authority if we couldn't escalate the penalty to the state law, but we could pass our own ordinance mirroring the state law that had a stricter penalty than state law. We could also, there also could be an escalation of a review of their liquor licenses for repeat offenders. That's another option to consider.
So
it would have to be enshrined in ordinance.
So we could actually inflate it from a petty offense to a class 2 misdemeanor, and the maximum fine for that is $500, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
Councilman Hoyer?
Well, it just seems that at the root of this, the issue is that one business is looking at another business thinking they have an advantage because people can smoke at that. Well, if everybody complied, nobody has an advantage.
Correct.
So,
That's exactly right.
Right. So that's where it becomes something on us where we need to make that call. Do we make it less attractive to not comply? because if everyone else is following the rules, I 100% see where they're coming from, that it puts others at an advantage, a potential advantage.
And if the council would entertain it, we'd be happy if, with your support, to go around to each one of the businesses and say, we have the council support and we are gonna enforce it as it says in state law and what a smoking shack should be, 75%.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business? All right, then is there any new business? Councilman Hoyer.
It's come up a little bit, and I know we've talked on it some, but in the near future, it might be good if we take a look at some of our parking signage in the downtown.
Yes.
Just with all the new economic development that's going on, we are now faced with the wonderful problem that parking is a little more challenging to find. So I know there's been a lot of talk and requests of making the public lots more identifiable. We already have some signs on them, but they are a little bit smaller, and maybe we can find some more appropriate signage that also maybe lists the time limits for when those lots are
We do
usable.
have that parking lot committee, and we should probably reconvene to discuss a path to take where we want people to know where the parking lots are. I think people are unaware. We have a lot of parking lots downtown that aren't fully utilized. Plus, we have the issue of people just parking their car and leaving it there for months. And so we need to address that as well.
Agreed, and maybe we can look at more integration with some of the online maps and stuff to help
Right.
folks find these lots.
Yes, we could do a better job of informing the public where they can park. It's a good idea. Thank you. Is there any other new business? All right, the next item is executive session pursuant to Sdcl 1-25-2, and we will have an executive session this evening in order to discuss and consult with legal counsel on a personnel matter. We do not expect to take action upon coming out. Need a motion? I have a motion by Lallam and a second by Bill Howard.
Second.
Rademski. Sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please.
Albertson,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
All right.
Rademski,
Aye.
Bill Howard.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we need to log out and go into executive session.